How do games break stuff? Hi, my name is gamedev and let's find out. Breaking walls, buildings and trees feels like it should be obvious in most games. Because when you shoot an RPG at a wall, it should break, right? Well, in real life it should, but not every game takes this realistic approach. For some, it's not really convenient for the game mechanics, but for others, they can add realism and some other benefits. Now, there are a few techniques and levels of breaking present in games, so let's go over them and see how they work. Let's start out with an example that everyone has seen before: destruction maps or textures. When you hear the name, it might not really ring a bell, but I'm pretty sure that everyone has seen this example, because there is this one pretty famous game. I don't know if you've heard about it, but yeah. The first thing anyone does in Minecraft is... and while you're smacking away at it, you notice it breaking. Now, what happens behind the scenes is that every block has extra textures laid on top. When a certain amount of damage is dealt to the block, they swap out the current breaking texture with the next one, until it's completely destroyed. This in itself is pretty boring, but they spice things up with smacking audio and some particles flying off. Another pretty common example is used in practically all shooters, and they are called decals. Decals are often used when you shoot at a wall and want to leave a bullet hole. They are textures projected on top of 3D models, which is quite handy since you don't really know where the player will hit the wall. And making a variant of the texture for every possible point on the wall is not really on the table. So instead, you just place a decal right where the player hit the wall, and you can call it a day. Now, another simple method is called pre-model destruction. In this technique, the artists create a few versions of the same model and then just swap them out whenever needed. Here, I created 3 versions of a wall in different stages of destruction. I've set up a scene real quick and made a button to explode the wall, and right now it looks something like this. But as you can see, it's pretty obvious that it just changes models. So to fix this, we use some development magic, and now it's fixed. Okay, maybe a little bit too much magic. Now, that's better. This is quite often used by turn-based strategy games, because their cover usually has some form of HP. Okay, now it's time for the big boys. Let's take a look at physics-based destruction. This is used in many different games for different purposes, but the main purpose is that it just looks cool. Like, look at this. This is so cool that this entire game is based on this technique. Okay, but how does it work? Take a look at this wall we made in the previous example. If we want to break it into many pieces, the wall needs to be made out of many pieces. And since humans are stupid and computers are smart, we have this cool button right here that will do just that. So now that our wall consists of these pieces, let's drop it in our game engine and make it go. When we drop everything in the scene and press play, nothing really happens. This is pretty normal because our wall consists of pieces, but they don't really listen to the laws of physics yet. For that, we need to give them something to listen to Mother Nature. And in game engines, we quite often call this a rigid body. This makes sure that each piece now interacts with gravity and forces applied to it. When we leave it at that, our wall will do, which is not really what we need. So instead, we just activate the rigid body whenever it's hit and then apply forces to make it go. This is a basic explanation of how the physics-based method works, but you can easily expand on this, like in the game Teardown. Again, like, look at this. Holy, this is so satisfying. They made an entire custom physics engine for this game, which is something my bean-sized brain can't even comprehend, so props to them. Now, one way to expand on the previous method is by doing it procedurally, which is something my bean-sized brain also can comprehend. The biggest difference with our previous method is that instead of breaking the wall into pieces before it is shot, they calculate the breaking of pieces at runtime, according to the point on the mesh where the player damaged it. But this can be pretty costly for the game's performance. Instead, they use some techniques to make sure your PC doesn't explode. Some of there are Boolean operations, Voronoi shattering or slicing, convex decompositions, tetrahedralization by 3D Delanoid triangulation. Holy. Which all sounds hella complex, which it is. Each of these methods is so complex that it could use a video on its own to be explained, but that's not something for now. Let's just take a look at a practical real-time example from Rainbow Six Siege, because they have a lot of money, so they can hire a lot of smart people to build this. The way they make sure you can shoot through a wall so you sneaky gremlins can kill players like wussies is with a technique called fracture patterns. The cuts are made on a planar projection of the 3D wall. Afterwards, a cut pattern is generated on a point of impact, based on the material of the wall and the weapon used. The cut is then taken out of the planar projection. After this, an algorithm is used to retriangulate the area so that it can be extruded back into 3D space, resulting in sneaky kills. This might be pretty difficult to understand if you're not really into this stuff, but I hope you got most of it. Now, these are some of the most common ways and techniques devs use to make stuff in your games go boom. But as stated before, the procedural method can be approached from many different ways, which could be a video on its own. So, if you want to torment me with some more brain-breaking research, show some love and hit the like and subscribe button so I know you enjoyed it. If you know some techniques I missed, put it in the comments below so I can take a look at them and maybe feature them in a future video. And if you have a big brain and are interested in some more of the procedural methods, I've linked an interesting paper covering real-time breaking in the description below. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching and beans out.